Let's move on to this bit here. This is our content area, and I want to make this look a little bit better by using what we call flexboxes. I mentioned about them before. And flexboxes in this situation, we want to have 3 separate boxes. Because if we make them bigger up here, it'd be really nice that they fill out these areas here. So the way that we can go about doing that is we go down to, and we'll go inside of our media screen here. And we're going to target the flexible containers that we created earlier on. And they were called flex-container. So if I do .flex-container, and then I'm going to add a rule inside that, and I'm going to go flex-direction, and I'm going to set that to column. And I would like them to be 100% of the width. And I'm going to close that bracket, and I'm going to save. So we've got to add a few more rules. So if we look inside the flex container that we've got in our HTML, notice we have the container and then we have a series of dividers or div tags inside it. So we might want to target those because that's what's going to carry the content inside of them. So in order for us to do that, we'll go back up to our CSS. And just under the condition for flex container, we're going to add a few more to hopefully resolve the issue of making sure it sits in a nice way side by side. So we're going to target the flex container div tags, which we mentioned a second ago. So .flex-container, and we're going to use the arrow key again, and we're going to look at the divs inside of the flex container. And we're going to add a condition for some padding, and we're going to set the padding to have 5 pixels and then 0 pixels. Remember, we deal with top and bottom and left and right here when we have 2 values. And we're going to set a margin as well, and the margin, I think we're going to have the same values actually, so 5 pixels and no pixels. And then we're going to close that condition. And then finally, what I want to do is I want to target the P tags inside the flex container to make them look a bit better as well. So we go back up here, and we're going to target the flex container. So flex-container, and we want to then target the divider, and then target the P tag, and we're going to set some padding inside this, I think, to make it look a little bit nicer. And we'll set padding to be 5 pixels, and then close that bracket. Again, save and refresh. And here we can see we've now got some nice space around these dividers. Make them a bit bigger. We now want to return back to our flex container, and we want to add some more rules to make it have the 3 columns that we saw inside our storyboard. And what we need to do is return back up into our main CSS, because what we have here in our media queries is if these values are true, these rules are triggered. But we want to make it so that when we're in a situation where the we want to make it when we're in a situation when these rules are not true, and we still have those 3 columns display side by side. So what we need to do is go above these rules here before the media queries and add the following content. So we can add .flex-container, so .-flex-container, and we want to display that in a flex layout. So it's flexible to however the screen is. And we want to close that bracket then. And then we want to target the dividers that we mentioned about earlier on inside our flex container. And in order to do that, we need to do .flex -container, target the divs by doing the arrow again, and then we're going to do a bracket. And this time I want to give a bit of background color just so that the flexible containers themselves kind of stand out. So let's add a background color, and I think a nice grey color would look quite cool. So if we use hashtag F1 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 semicolon, because we're going to add another rule, we'll set a margin as well, and that margin is going to be, I think 5 pixels would be sufficient. We'll give a little bit of padding around it as well, and we'll give padding of 10 pixels. And most importantly, we'll want the dividers to be 100% of the actual container. So we're going to type in width. So that's 100%. Now I have, once I close this bracket, noticed that I didn't type in div up here. So let's put div there. And I'm quite happy with that. That looks alright. No semicolons missing. Let's save that and let's refresh the page again. And here we go. We can see that we've now got our nice dividers looking quite nice there, and with content inside them that we can put some great information in when we come to do our proper text inside them. So if we now make that smaller and reflect on what that looks like when we go into our mobile phone responsivity, it slowly gets smaller and then it pops down here, which is quite great because obviously we don't want to have small boxes that we really struggle to read. Why don't they stack on top of each other? And that was where we put our rules in earlier on, down in our CSS for the smaller screen sizes when we played around with the dividers. So I'm happy with that overall. It looks like quite a good responsive web page. We can add some more information. So in our storyboard we had some text above our navigation bar and an image. So in order to do that, let's go back down to our HTML and let's go inside of our main HTML element here, and we can see that we have our wrapper. And inside after our wrapper we have our header. And inside our header element we can add some information. So this is going to be like a banner. So if we open that up, we can put a nice heading 1, H1. And I'm going to say, welcome to my site about me. And then I'm going to close the H1. Again, as always, save it, refresh our web page up here, and that looks quite cool. Now I want to add an image to be above that, so I can put a line underneath our header, and we can type in the image tag, so img space src full speech mark, and just for now I'm going to put hashtag as a holding tag. I'm going to close that speech mark and then give I think I'm going to give a width as well of the image, and I'm going to set the width to be 70 VW, so viewable width. I'm going to close that speech mark, and then I want to close that tag. And what I want to do is I want to put a / in the end of that. I've noticed I've not closed my speech mark. And at the end of this, I'm going to put a line break, which is a open bracket br / and then I'm going to close that there, and then I'm going to save. And let's see what that looks like. So we can see that the image is put over here. So what I would like us to do is have that image over in the middle of our page. So we can put in front of the image tag a new tag called center, and then at the very end, just before our line break, we're going to put the close tag for center, and we're going to save. And then let's go back, refresh our page. We should now see our placeholder is over here, ready and waiting for the image once we've got it.